Hello everyone and welcome to iExamB. In this video, I'm going to talk about the next set of important descriptive questions for NABARD IT 2023 examination. This is the second video in the series, and if you want to watch the first video, you can check out the link in the description. Also, I would like everyone to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon, and also like the video at the end if you want to get some important info, if you feel like you got some important info, because when we are going to bring any such video afterwards, you are going to get the direct update on your mobile phone or on a laptop if you are a subscribed user. So there are many advantages if you will subscribe the channel, so that you will not going to be a thing where you are going to miss on any update. So you don't need to go out and Google everything, but if you subscribe the channel, you will get all the information just by looking at our channel on the daily basis. So yeah, that was one point from me. Now I'm going to give you some important descriptive questions on the DBMS. In previous video, I provided important questions of networking, also the answer template, how you are going to proceed for every particular answer. This thing you have to utilize and write your own answer and think that you have covered all the points 360 degree. Without wasting any further time, I will start the first question. The first question is about describing the key component of a typical DBMS architecture. What roles does these component play in managing a database? So if this question comes in the NABARD examination, how you're going to approach it? So first you are going to provide an introduction to DBMS architecture. Then you are going to provide the components of DBMS architecture. After that, you have to provide different systems of architectures which are there present in the entire DBMS, and then how the user interacts with the architecture. What kind of users are there going to be interacting with the architecture? NAV users, the DBs, the architects, what all users are there? Not only the normal users, every kind of users. And then you're going to give out a conclusion. For answering this particular question, the best thing that you can do is to make a flowchart of the entire DBMS architecture, understand its each component, the storage component, the query component, the UI component, and everything. Understand where the physical level lies, where the logical level lies, and where the view level lies. If you have this kind of understanding, the architecture will seem very easy to you and you will easily write this answer. Now, the second question is talking about explaining the concept of a database transaction. What are the ACID properties and why they are important in database management system? So here we are talking about transaction. First, you have to give the introduction to database transaction. Then the question is asking about ACID properties. So ACID properties will be the next point of thing. You have to give the ACID properties in a point-based manner, so that whenever the user or the examiner is going to read that particular question answer, so they are going to get a clear insight that the person knows about everything. So ACID properties are the soul of this particular question, so you have to give a lot of focus on the ACID properties. Just expand the acronym, explain every particular thing. Now, what is the effect of ACID property on a transaction? What if any one of them is absent? What will happen? You just make sure that you cover everything. What if not? So that will actually lie the importance of ACID property. You will get the idea why ACID property is important, because that is the last part of the question, why they are important in the database. And everything's importance will be recognized when they are absent. So you have to make sure that when A is absent, how the transaction is going to suffer. When C is absent, how the transaction is going to suffer, and so on for I and D. Then you will draw a conclusion stating how important it is and how it has made our life easier in the terms of transactions in the database management system. Now, coming to the third question, describe the various types of database model, including relational, region, hierarchical, and object-oriented. Provide examples of scenario where each model is suitable. Now, here you have to explain all the kinds of models, but specifically they are asking about three kinds of model. How to write the answer? Start with the introduction of the DBMS, because if you don't know about the DBMS, you can't write about the model. So you have to explain that you know about the DBMS. Then you will explain about the database models, the roles that it has, then a more brief on the relational, hierarchical, and object oriented, and then scenarios to back your answers, because they want some scenarios as well, and then you will go for a conclusion. Sorry, the spelling of the conclusion is wrong here, but your answer should not have the wrong conclusion. You have to give the conclusion stating that how database models are very much needed to have in a database management system, including relational, hierarchical, object-oriented, how important they are, because you have, like, everybody is using relational these days, Oracle or SQL, anything like that. They are the need of the hour, and they are making our life easier again with the help of the data. Now, question number 4. What is the database indexing and how does it improve our query performance in DBMS? Discuss the different types of indexing methods. This particular question is asking about the 3 things. 1, the database indexing, then the query performance, and third, the indexing method. First, you have to give an introduction of the DBMS. Then again, you are going to explain the concept of database indexing. Once you explain the database indexing, explain the different types of indexing that we have. Then the uses of indexing, the method of indexing, and in the conclusion, you are going to write how we can use indexing to improve our query performance. That will be your conclusion here. Okay. Now, coming to the 5th question. What is the concurrency in database management system and how does it relate to the issues like locking and deadlock? Explain example to illustrate these concepts. Again, introduction. After the introduction on the data concurrency in DBMS, you're going to write about brief introduction about locking and deadlocks. What are these? Explain the types of types of locks and the locking techniques. Then explain about the deadlock. What are the causes? How it can be avoided? How it can be prevented? And then you state classical algorithm which is used in deadlock, which is the banker's algorithm. It will enrich your answer technically a lot, because this will be the example where you're going to illustrate the concept by giving a problem and solving it using a banker solution. Now, you are giving the conclusion that how these 2 things can make the system suffer and why they are important to take into consideration when we do any kind of concurrency. Now, the last question for this video is about role of SQL in DBMS, and you have to provide the SQL statements for data retrieval, modification, and schema. So they are asking about the SQL statement, but specifically they are asking about the retrieval, modification, and schema definition. What you have to do, you have to first start with the introduction of the SQL and with the DBMS, okay, because these 2 are separate things, but none of these exist alone. So we need both of them together. So you have to explain in the introduction that how these 2 are closely related to each other. Then you need to explain the SQL. Then you need to explain the importance of SQL. Then you need to explain the schema of database. After that, SQL for data retrieval, modification, and the definition. So you are going to type the statements like select statement, then DML commands, and the schema you are going to maintain or like create any database or a table. You have to explain those commands with some example. And at the end, you are going to draw a conclusion that how these both are very much used, how SQL is very important, what are the different alternatives for the SQL as well. And that will be your perfect answer. I hope you got good questions for practice, and I hope you will sincerely practice and write the questions. The word limit for everything will be minimum 300, maximum you can go up to 600. Just make sure that you are fast enough to type, and make sure you prepare 50% faster with iExamB by checking out our course at www.iexamb.com. Subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update from our side. Also, if you have any doubt, mention that in the comment section. And in the case of any extra query, you can just call us on the number which is flashed on the screen, or you can give an email to us at hello@iexamb.com. So that was all from my side. Keep practicing, stay updated.